Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm here with David Lewis. I noticed you got the David James Lewis because there are other Davids out there that are David Lewises, and we don't want to get you mixed up. So I am so excited that you're here. You have been a request. People have emailed me and said, "Do you think you could get David Lewis to come chat?" And I said, "Well, one day I'm going to try." So here you are.
Great. And you thought there's no way because he's such a big deal. How could we possibly get him? Because he's just so busy looking after two cats and a dog in LA. Yes, thanks. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting. It's so weird for an actor to want to talk about themselves. This is just so odd. Never happens.
I know, but you know what? We love it. We love it because then we look at you differently when we watch a show, especially one or a movie that we've already seen. We go back, and then when we hear your little stories, we have a whole total appreciation for it. So it's a good
I
thing.
totally get that. Yeah, try to give you some behind the scenes stuff and everything, and just yeah, I loved like when I was younger, or even watching an interview with an actor that I like, and like, oh, what happened on behind the scenes when you made this movie, or working with other actor. I love that stuff. It's great.
And also just getting to know you too. So sometimes people will share different things. You're like, oh, I wonder if. So they get excited and then they go and they dig through everything and want to look at all of your stuff. But wait a minute. Okay. When you look at your credits, like, holy moly, how many movies have you actually been in? Not even just TV series, but like movies. Like, do you keep track of that or no?
I don't. I've been very fortunate. I've worked a lot over the
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
And most of it is in the film and TV industry, but I've also done like lots of short films. I've done stuff with students and student productions. I'm a big believer in giving back in that way. So I'm out of Vancouver, so I work with like the Vancouver Film School and Capilano College,
Wow.
UBC, with the young filmmakers, because I like working, and it's great. But yeah, I've done quite a few. Yeah.
I mean, just even if we just look at Hallmark itself, I'm like, what? Oh my God, you've been everywhere. Like, do you even remember? Do you forget sometimes?
Oh yeah, for sure I do. Like my wife will be like, "Oh, you worked on this." I'm like, "I did," and I'm like, "Oh, I got to see who's the star." Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, because yeah, I think I've done like 27 or 28, maybe.
Many, many. We'll talk about some of them, but
Yeah.
many, many.
Oh,
So,
that's exciting.
all right. So you're an actor, and then you said you do some teaching, which is very nice, or
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
And am I correct in seeing that you do some producing and writing? Is that true?
That is also true. Yeah, I do a bit of that as well. I also I'm in LA right now. I had a little job here, and then so I'm also, my wife and I are just kind of house sitting for some friends. So we got a couple of cats and dogs right now. So I'm based out of Vancouver, but I work wherever they need a sweet ginger. But yeah, I'm in LA for a few weeks now. Yeah.
Is it something that we'll see in the future? What you're
Could
planning?
be. Yeah, could be. It's not in the Hallmark
Okay.
world, but it's yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. And before we even dive into the Hallmark world, I have to tell you how hilarious to me it is that you did, what is it, Grumpy Cat?
Yes. Yes. So
Grumpy Cat Christmas.
that show, that animal made their owner a multi millionaire. It was
Yes.
unbelievable how big that cat was. And so I've been doing this for quite a few years. And then my ridiculous children came along, and they're in their teens now. But they didn't really care what I was
Yeah.
doing, because it was all usually adult stuff and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
Um, but two things I worked on, they cared about, and one of them was Grumpy Cat. And they're like, Grumpy Cat, you're working on Grumpy Cat, and I'm like, yeah, like, you guys know it, like, oh my god, we love Grumpy Cat. Like, okay, like, well, can we come to set and meet Grumpy Cat? And I'm like, I mean, you can, but like,
Cat.
we want to go now. But I'm like, well, the set isn't open yet because our call time isn't going to be. No, we're going to go now. We want to go. So we went, like 2.5 hours early, and we walked around a mall because we were filming by a mall, and we walked around a mall for like 2.5 hours, and they were just like, "What time is it? Is it Grumpy Cat time?" I'm like, "No, it's not Grumpy Cat time." And then they met Grumpy Cat, and they were just like, "Oh!" I was like, I've never seen you that excited to see me in my life yet, Grumpy Cat."
Came along. I know, and it's cute. It's so cute. Is Grumpy Cat still alive?
I don't know about that. Grumpy Cat, I don't think that she is.
Because I remember reading something, but you can't always trust when they put stuff out like that, and I'm like, "Oh, oh."
Yeah, I mean, I think she was kind of a little ways along by the
Yeah,
time we had made that, but she was adorable. I mean, she was
yeah,
great, and it was just a silly, ridiculous Christmas movie, which I thought was actually a lot of fun. And Aubrey Plaza did
uh-huh.
the voice of Grumpy Cat, and then I ended up working with her years later on Child's Play.
What well, that's interesting. That one's interesting
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Totally different. So
yeah.
that's the thing that I love. So we've got sci-fi and we have horror and we have drama and we have mystery. Like what's your favorite genre? Do you have one or you love it all?
I mean, I kind of love it all, but I really love comedy. I'm very
Mhm.
fortunate, and this is going to sound really like, just
No,
bear with me, audience. I know this is going
no,
to sound really like, oh my gosh, what's this?
no, no.
But
Come on.
comedy is one of these things that there's a rhythm to it, and not everybody gets it. And I know a lot of really fantastic actors that are really great actors, but when it comes to comedy, they just don't quite. There's like a cadence and a rhythm to it, and
Yes.
knowing how long to wait for the punchline, and just finding all the little bits to kind of, you know. And there's different types of comedy too. There's very dry comedy, then there's over the top comedy, which is, maybe more for kids and that sort of thing. So everyone's, comedy doesn't kind of get the love that it should. I mean, it does in Hollywood in the sense that, good comedians get paid a lot of money,
Yes, yes.
but comedies don't normally get nominated for like awards or whatever. But comedy is difficult. If you're in a theater
Yes.
and you're watching a drama and it's quiet, you don't really know. Afterwards you can be like, "Oh, that was really." If you're in a theater and you're watching a comedy and nobody's laughing,
Oh,
well, then we know
yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on, right? Like comedy it's very visceral. It's either funny or it's not. With a drama, you can discuss afterwards and go like, "Well, my opinion was I thought that the third act was a thing." So
Yeah.
yeah, I really love comedy a lot, and I also love sci-fi. I really love doing sci-fi. Um, and then a lot of times it's just like I love working with people I've worked with before, directors or actors and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Now, so what have you written? What genres have you written?
Um, I've written some comedy. I wrote on this series called Parked about these kind of late 30s, early 40s dads that were all kind of unemployed, and they looked after their kids in a park. And so they just got up into a lot of adult mischief.
Uh-huh.
Most of them not really growing up yet. So
Right,
that
right.
was fun. That was that was a web series. I actually won a Leo, which is a local
Yep.
award in BC. I won a Leo for my work on that. And my director on that, who directed them all, was Peter DeLuise, who directed me in When Calls the Heart and has done lots of Hallmark and stuff over the years.
I love Peter. I know who Peter is.
Yeah, he's
Bless him.
great. Yeah, it was actually just his birthday the other day. He's
Yes.
really lovely. I really love him a lot. Yeah. So, and then I've written some short films. I've helped write, and I mean helped this much.
Okay.
My wife is a writer,
Oh, nice.
and so I will come in and kind of just go over the script and maybe add some bits here and there, some a bit of comedy and that sort of thing. But yeah, yeah, I enjoy writing. I haven't written anything for a couple of years, but I've really been kind of thinking about it more lately, just trying to see if there's something in there, in that hollowness that I call my head, to see if there's something in there that I'd like to kind of pick up again. Writing's great. You are the master of your domain there. Yeah.
Right. So your wife's a writer. Is she a writer, if you don't mind talking just a tiny bit? Is she like for
Whoa,
school?
whoa, whoa! This is supposed to be about me. You want
I
me to
know, but
Ah,
I'm going
fine.
to connect it to you, I promise. So is it like screenwriting? What is it? What is it that
Yeah, she's a screenplay writer.
Okay.
And so the movie that we've got coming out in a little while called Reuniting, she wrote and directed that. She's been writing for years and directing a lot of stuff. She also teaches at the same school that I teach at. She actually got me the job there, and she teaches the screenwriting program. And it's all nepotism.
Well, here was my question that was connected to. Does she ever give you some advice or pointers when you're like playing a part or you get a part? Does she ever do that, or you never cross?
No, for sure. Yeah. Like,
Yes.
so
Okay.
we, for actors nowadays, it's all self tapes. And for the people at home that may
That's
not know
true.
this,
Yes.
you tape your audition out of your own home. Nobody's going in to see a casting director in a
Right.
studio anymore.
Right.
It's
Right.
very, very rare because of pandemic. And now they've just realized that it's just
Easier.
cost efficient and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, for sure. She gives me lots of advice. When we worked together. And at first, I had kind of a tough time with it.
Mm,
Like, no, I'm going to do it this way. But I have to really listen to it and go, okay, well, wait a second. What am I trying to say? What are you trying to say? And
right.
more often than not, yeah, I'll take her advice. So I might try the scene my way and then I'll try it her way. And it's like, she's got a great eye. I mean, she's a director. So,
Right.
and she's an actor as well. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Now, can we get back to what you were saying you won the Leo for? What's it called again? Because they're going to want to know where they can find it if they
Yeah,
can.
it's a web series called Parked. It's online. Um,
I'm putting it in the chat. Parked.
yes, correct. Yeah, and it's just about I think there's like 5 or 6 episodes, and just about a bunch of ne'er do well. It's not PG, but they just get up to some mischief and that sort of stuff. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working on that. That was a really exciting thing to work on. Yeah.
All right, I put it in the chat for
Ah,
them to be able to see it. So now
yeah.
I'm gonna have to go look for it too because I did not in my research, but in fairness to myself, in my research, I usually research the life out of my guest.
Right.
It was just too much to research when it came to you. There was like so much material. I'm like, this man has like this massive history and career. Like, really, you've done all kinds of things.
Everyone, please let her finish.
Yes.
Would you just please, people, let her finish. Carry on, Roxanne. I'm
And
listening.
and I am most appreciative because it's different. You're never the same. And whenever like and sometimes people they get sort of like I guess typecast, but you're never the same. You're always different when you pop in and out. And sometimes I look at him like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know that actor. Like you even look a little different. I know sometimes your hair color gives you away, but
Yeah, that's true.
your hairstyle could be a little different. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Because yes, I am part of Red Nation. The ginger,
That's okay.
the proud. Yeah.
My mom had beautiful red hair. Hers
Oh,
was
she
perfect.
must have been very pretty.
She was. She's Irish, so she
Ah,
definitely
so am
dark.
I. Great.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you, out of all, I mean, you've done so much. Out of all the things that you've done, what are some things that stand out in your mind? Like, could be character and series. It could be anything. Like, what are some great? And I know you like it all, but just be honest and choose a few that you really like.
Okay, just between you and I. Don't tell me.
Okay. No one else.
Here's the things I didn't like working on. No.
Oh no, no.
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate. Like I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I've had a lot of jobs, a lot of great experiences. One of them that really sticks out was this Nickelodeon kids trilogy of movies I did called Fairly Odd Parents, and it was based on a cartoon, and so they made a live action version of it, and it was
Cool.
about this kid who had these fairies that would grant him all these wishes, and the fairies were bumbling and all this sort of stuff, and nobody knew that he had them except for this one teacher who was obsessed, and his name was Mr. Crocker. Anyways, so we make these movies, and I played Mr. Crocker, and Mr. Crocker has jet black hair, big circles under his eyes, and he talks like this. Oh, I'll get you and your fairies, Timmy Turner. I'll get them. And so that was totally fun. And my kids knew the show. And so they wanted to come to set and see me work and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
and we filmed 2 of them in Vancouver, and then the third one took place in Hawaii.
Oh,
So like I got to fly off to Hawaii and work there for a couple of weeks, and it was so much fun. The character was very over the top and very physical. And it was just a really, really great experience. So that was a really fun one, and mostly because my kids
like enjoyed
were
it.
kind of like into
Yeah.
it. And now, so I made that probably I don't know, like 10 or 12 years ago.
Mhm.
And so the school I teach at, I've got young adults, like they're, in their like early 20s.
Mhm.
And inevitably by about week 3, they'll have gone on to my IMDb and they're
Yes.
like, oh, you were in Fairly Odd Parents. Oh, we didn't even know. And
Yeah.
now they
Yeah.
like, yeah. So, because that's what they grew up with, they would have been like 10 years old at the time.
Sure.
So that
Cool.
was great. Uh, um, you know, uh, I did this ridiculous movie years ago called White Chicks,
I
which
know
was
it. I know
right.
it.
And so again, all of my students are like, "You were in White Chicks." I'm like, "You're 20. How do you know this movie's like 25 years old?" They're like, "Me and my friends all love it." And I've got
Yes, they do.
another class that are like 14 years old, and they watch it too. I'm like, "Well, that's not appropriate."
I know. That movie is hilariously like a car crash almost because
Oh
of
yeah.
how they behave and look and what goes on.
And I make so much money off of it. It's ridiculous. It
What?
plays all the time.
That's amazing.
I don't
Good.
know what network it's playing on, but it's keeping the lights on over there. I'll tell you.
Well,
It
listen,
just it's crazy.
they're all gonna go see. I'll put it in there. Let me
Yeah.
put it in here so they know, but they may have already seen it. Is it CHI? Is it Chicks? Like how did what's the
Yeah,
Chicks?
CHICKS.
Yeah, I
As
wasn't.
inappropriate as it sounds, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I did a crazy spelling on it or not.
No.
Oh my gosh. And that must have been just like hilarious. Well, you love it because it makes you money. That's good.
Well, no, but it was really fun to work on.
Yeah.
And then all the Wayans brothers, because it was that was
Yeah.
the team that sort of put the whole thing together. They went on to the Oprah Winfrey show back in the day, and
Mhm.
when they showed a clip, I was in the clip. So I was like sort of on the Oprah Winfrey show. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
on the Oprah Winfrey show.
I love
Uh,
it. I love
yeah,
it. That's all
uh,
good stuff.
yeah, yeah. So that that sort of stuff, those things are great. And then then you get to work on shows with like your friends or whatever. Like anytime I work with Peter DeLuise, I'm always so happy. He makes me laugh. I really really love him a lot. He's such a great person, and we worked on comedy and mystery and heartfelt stuff and over the top stuff and everything. And yeah, so that sort of stuff's great. But yeah, I just like I said before, I really like working with young directors. Whether it's at a local university or fresh out of film school, they've got great energy. They've got a lot of passion, and yeah, I just really enjoy it.
So now, so you and Peter recently worked together on When Calls the Heart, and that was season 8, and you were a meanie Mountie, Superintendent Andrew Hargreaves. You were serious, very
Well,
serious.
yes, because the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, we take our job very serious, eh? Um, yeah, that was a fun job, and I actually I was on my birthday, like a year or 2 years ago. I was coming home from the golf course with my friend, and it was like 5 in the afternoon. It was so hot, we are just sweating, and I got this phone call, and I'm like, "Oh, it's Peter DeLuise. That's weird." He's like, "Hey, man, so you auditioned for When Calls the Heart?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Guess we're going to be working together." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Let me get home and I'll go." So I got home, and he's like, "Yeah, you did a great job in your audition." So I was really happy about that. That was because that was kind of, I think we filmed that just sort of coming out of the pandemic. We were still
Yes,
trying to figure all that sort of
yep,
stuff out.
yes,
And I got to wear the red serge, and I got to ride in on a horse, and
yes.
take a couple of quick riding lessons, which I did quite well. Um, and it was really great. It was really, and I got to do a courtroom scene,
Mhm.
lawyer, really intense, and corner the other character and everything. And it was just like there was a lot of great parts to that I really liked a lot.
And the set itself is pretty amazing because you feel like you really are back in time and there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and, so you already had a connection because you had a connection with Peter, and usually when people, because there's a lot of guests featured during the season, they usually say that, that felt welcoming to come on because that's just the kind of cast they were. So did you have, like, a good time, feel welcomed? I'm sure you did.
no, everybody on that show was a complete. No, I'm kidding.
Really into
Yeah,
themselves.
they're lovely
Yeah,
from the top to the bottom. I mean, most of the crew I'd worked with over the years, so they're Vancouver crews are great. They're all just they're just there to work, and they're just lovely, and it really does trickle down from the top. So if the director and the producer are cool, then everybody's going to do that. If they're not, then there's chaos. Then everybody's just fighting for their own safety, and there's a dumpster on fire, and there's some clowns crawling out of it. That's what you don't want on a film set. Um, you don't want flaming clowns coming out of a dumpster. That's never a good sign. And I'd worked with some of the actors before, but even the ones I hadn't worked with were very, very inviting. Yeah, they
yeah,
they I think it seems like it's a really great set to work on. And
it is.
yeah.
I love Barbara. She's amazing. The costumer, I've talked with her before.
Oh, great.
Yeah, she's her whole family is extremely talented. I mean, like, even her brother, who's a photographer, has,
Yeah,
like, awards and things on his own. They're very extremely artsy. She's a
yeah,
doll. I love her.
yeah,
Since we're talking about this, there's a question that I'm just gonna put up so we don't lose it. Jan says, "Have you ever watched When Calls the Heart either before or after you were in it?" You don't
yeah.
have to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, certainly as an actor, once you get a job, you should definitely start watching the show that you're going to be working on, just so you can get a sense of the tone and all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's one of these shows that on the surface you're like, okay, huh, it's a good show. It is international. It
Yeah.
is international. The place that I'm staying, our friend Marai, her mom lives in Singapore, and her and her friends, we don't watch TV. It's below. They're like they love When Calls the Heart. So my wife got a picture, or actually got a video of Johanna Newmarch and
Yes.
a bunch of the other cast wishing this elderly Singaporean, probably not the right word,
That's okay.
woman happy birthday, and she was like, how did you do? What did she say? She's like, how did you do the CGI to make them say my name? Like, no, we got them to say your name. Oh, and she started sharing with all her friends.
Uh-huh.
This TV series has such an international appeal. It's unbelievable.
It does. It
It
does.
really does.
Yep, it does. We love it. I'm a Hardy, and I have,
Yeah,
like, on Mondays after an episode, like, in the season after it premieres, then we chat and talk about it, and we have guests on from there. Peter pops in every now and then to my podcast sometimes. Just yeah, he does. And you don't know if he's there or not until he comes on, but
yeah,
this season has, with their new showrunner, is tight-lipped. Nobody's saying a word, no one's doing anything, so we're
right.
excited. We're excited for
Well,
season.
because the alien ship comes in. Oh, I probably
Oh,
shouldn't have said
don't
that.
let it.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're gonna switch genres for sure, right?
So let me just ask you,
Yeah,
because I mean, I like the show. It's not
yeah.
quite a show that I might watch all the time. But why do you think it has such appeal? Like, what do you love about it?
I think it's the characters. The characters are really well developed, and people pay attention to every little thing. They analyze every little thing that they do. They remember what they do, and then for the most part, they act in character, like they become real to you.
Sure.
And then lately, there was a few times people would get upset because that's not how that character should act or whatever. But
Right.
for the most part, all these years, those characters have grown, and they when I say they're the same, they're like humans that change through time. Yeah,
Of
like
course.
you said,
Yeah.
how they write. Okay, but they just are so detailed oriented. They remember the birthday. They remember when they said this, they being the writers, that they said that. So I think that's it. But also, I think because the cast has a genuine fondness for each other, it spills over into the storytelling. Like when they're sharing a scene together, they're really into it. So it's easy for us to think, they're like authentic. It's easy for us to get sucked in, and some people just almost act as if it's real to them.
I love
That
it. That says a lot
yeah,
about the show. Then
yes,
that's fantastic. I love that, and it's a period piece, and it's nostalgic, not nostalgic like we were there, but it's like
mhm,
it's that time, and the clothing and the
yes,
machinery and it's great.
all of it together. So, another fan favorite is Frank and Maxine, okay, from A Christmas Detour. Did you realize how much of a favorite did you know that those two characters and that couple were so popular? Like every Christmas time when that it comes out, like when's Christmas Detour coming on? And not to say anything about Paul Green, who I love, or Candace, it's just they usually talk about your part.
Oh, that's so kind.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Oh,
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
There are even reviewers who would say that they thought, and that's a Ron Oliver, right? Did he direct
The
that?
King, Big Daddy, love
Yeah.
me some Ron Oliver.
So I mean, they say that they should have made the story. They could have taken the, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
the
Paul
main
and
plot.
Candace's part out, yes,
Sure.
and just told your story, your story with Maxine. And I mean, I know people that tear up over it because of the relationship. I guess because it's was really real what happens, to some couples, and then
Sure.
how you
Yeah.
find your way back, which is so sweet. And I wanted to, I mean, there's some people in here that already said stuff. Let's see if I can find it. I started. People were like, here they're over here praising you up, and we will look at that in a bit, but I'm trying to find. Here
Let's
we
just
go.
take screenshots of all the praising.
You
It's
will.
certainly
Well, you
important.
actually can, it'll post and you'll see it all. Chip saying Frank and Maxine should have their own mystery series where they travel around and solve murders. They want your two characters to come back.
I love it. I
Yes,
love it.
yes.
Maxine, I think I found a cool. Frank, would you just Frank, put that down. You've got your fingerprints on it. Well, I didn't know. I mean, yeah.
I have watched it so many times, and a friend of mine, I think it may have been Chip, we were talking and we're like, oh, they're dancing. And then we're like, wait a minute. David has some moves when he dances. It wasn't like you're doing a waltz, but he's a very good dancer. He's like, look at him. Like we see new things each time.
You know what? It is, first of all, I think everybody, not everybody, but most people like a road movie. Road movies are fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, planes, trains, and automobile, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
it's two characters usually that are not getting along, having to get from A to B because they can't get a flight or someone needs they're forced to be together. And that's really great to create conflict in the story. So not only do you have the main characters not getting along, you have the secondary characters that kind of aren't getting along either. They're basically their relationship is ending, and they have to go on this trip to go see their daughter. So that's already built in a great story right there.
Yes.
And then you throw in Christmas time, and you make sure that the actors are all bundled up, and you film it in July. And people are like, "Are you having a stroke?" I'm like, "No, I always sweat like this." Um, and then you have the great thing is you got the two main characters, and we kind of know that hopefully they're going to fall for each other and whatever. But then you have like this nice comic relief in the back seat, but also with the story, not just being like we're funny. We also have a journey that our characters have to make, and I thought that was really. I think originally the characters. I think here's some tea I'm spilling for you.
Okay.
Originally, the characters were going to be in their 60s.
Oh.
How it was originally written, and then they did a last-minute rewrite, I believe, and then they did some recasting. And I wanted to work with Ron Oliver for a long time. We just weren't able to. We weren't able to work out schedules, and by that I mean he didn't hire me. And so And so, this job came down, and we did it. And I had so much fun. And my co-star Sarah Strange, who I've known for years, and she's such a great actor.
She is.
We really, we did our homework. I remember at the wardrobe session, us talking about like our character's relationship, and what our lives looked like and what was happening, and how we didn't, our characters didn't hate each other. We just had kind of felt like we had just learned everything about each other, and it was like, well, now we're just sort of roommates,
Right,
which is
right,
sad
right.
in itself.
But not at the end. The end, I love it when the
Yeah,
luggage and bringing it back up and you go up the walk together.
yeah,
It's like
yeah. And I remember, I remember I was on a local street by my house called Canby Street, and I was having like some lunch, and then Sarah came walking up the street. I'm like, hey, because she lived in the same neighborhood. I'm like, hey, right. I said, I have an idea. At the end of the movie, I think that because my character was constantly carrying all the luggage in the movie, I said, what would be nice is when we walk up the steps, if I'm carrying the luggage, why don't you come and help me carry the? Oh, she's like, oh, that's great. So just a nice little character beat that just shows the growth of the two characters and everything, and her calling me Francis at the end instead of Frank. That was that might be one of my favorite Hallmarks, maybe.
Yeah.
It's right up there. And the movie, it's great. It's a great Christmas movie.
Yeah. Like I told you, it's a fan favorite. Everyone was like, "Oh, Frank and Maxine!" Like they always. And you know what you just said and shared with us about the piece of luggage, we noticed that. That's what makes us like, oh, when it's the end for them, and they go into the house together. That's what makes certain people tear up. Even though we were laughing all along the way, the whole bedroom situation of who's in which bedroom with all this silliness and whatnot. So
all the stuff in the car, and
yeah. Annie says, I found myself much more interested in Frank and Maxine. Such a great couple.
Aw, and that doesn't take anything away from Paul and Candace. They did a great job, but I think it's one of those ones. It's one of those times where it doesn't happen very often, and no fault to the writer either. It's just the secondary characters were just kind of more compelling in some way. I don't know. Well, I mean, probably my youthful good looks. Sure, 50, I could play 35 still. But, we don't have time to get into all of that because we'll get it.
It says, to me, the movie ends when Frank and Maxine walk in hand into their daughter's house. So, And he's funny. Chip is writing this fan fiction, and somehow he has weaved in Frank and Maxine. So you'll have to be on the lookout for that. You never know. Somebody might love the idea at Hallmark and create some kind of like a mystery series. He's got this whole thing going. He'll be my guest next Wednesday. He's going to share some of his ideas. So we're going to put it out there. You never know who might hear it.
I love it. Well, we'll have to get Ron Oliver to direct. I'm a big
fan. That sounds good. So speaking about Hallmark, you've been on there for ages. Like, do you remember the first project you may have ever worked on for them, and or no?
I don't know if I do. I think it was so long ago. I think they were just called Hallmark. I don't know what my first one would have been.
Okay. I know that I remember you were in Garage Sale Mysteries. You played the murder of the husband.
Peter DeLuise directed that.
Yes, I know. So I was thinking, even that is older. All these years, what do you notice that has changed through all the years with Hallmark? Because they've grown. They
have grown, and I think it's really important. I think that they have grown in the sense of showing more diversity in their characters. The morning show mysteries that I worked on with Holly Robinson Peete. African American lead. Fantastic. Love it. Why wouldn't you do that? That's part of your audience as well. Why wouldn't you want to include as many people as possible to watch these stories being told?
Yes.
And the LGBTQ communities being included. And I just think that I think they just kind of growing up. They're growing up. They're seeing, that it doesn't just have to be this tiny, tight little lane that we're driving in.
Mhm.
That we can have a bunch of lanes, like the 405, because I'm in LA, a bunch of different lanes, and lots of different people in different cars, and we're all moving along. And because I can't remember who I was talking to about this the other day, but we were talking about, just sort of the state of the world and countries fighting with each other and people fighting with each other and political parties fighting with each other.
Right.
But the reality is, it doesn't matter if you live in Africa or Iran or Japan or Canada. Everybody wants to, they want love.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Their teenagers don't listen to them. I
Mhm.
mean, it doesn't matter if you're in Russia or Spain. My teenager just you think that
Yeah.
you're the only person whose teenager doesn't listen to you.
Right.
Everybody gets their heart broken. Everybody is worried about money. People are worried about their health. It is the same in every single country. So as much as we think that we were so different from those people that we don't know about in Croatia or South America, we're all the same. Every time I travel, people still go to the store and they're still complaining about the price of avocados and how come look at this avocado is not going to be ripe for 10 weeks. I will never be able to make guacamole. Everybody is really the same.
Yeah.
So, I think just seeing more faces, a variety of faces on Hallmark, I think is really fantastic. But I mean, look, they've mastered the formula. They've got Christmas, they've got mystery, they've got rom-coms. I mean,
Everything.
They've figured it out. At the beginning, I think people kind of used to roll their eye. Hallmark, don't they make greeting cards? What do they do? They are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
it's great. Good for them.
Yep. And you've been there for the ride. You've seen it all. Now, go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
Oh,
I was saying, yeah, I was going to use the Hallmark joke again, but it's done. Roxanne, I'm not. Maybe some people have tuned out and come back in. So
no. Now, do you have and it doesn't have to be for Hallmark, but in general, because you've done so many different things. Do you have this dream role that you're wishing for or hoping one day to play or dreaming up in your mind and you're going to write it and act it and produce? I don't know. Do you have something you could and if it's a secret, just maybe tease a little?
well, I think I would love, and I've played bad guys over the
Hmm.
year. At the beginning of my career, I was always like a computer nerd. I was always very sort of quirky, red hair and pimples and all that sort of stuff. And I can help you get your coffee, all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then I kind of moved into, nice young dad, and then I moved into white collar criminal. Uh,
Okay.
and the murderer that you don't suspect because he looks like he's the guy next door and all that sort of stuff.
Huh?
So I really like playing villains, and it would be great to play like this big, juicy, over the top Marvel villain, just
Uh-huh.
with the robes and the kid. You shall kneel to me, all of that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Lightning bolts shooting out of my fingers, and maybe
Okay.
throwing muffins with gluten in them. And then not the gluten.
I'm allergic to gluten.
Yes, go. So I'd love to play. I think like a great bad guy.
Okay.
Um,
That sounds like fun.
yeah,
That's good.
I mean, that being said, I've played a lot of villainous characters over the years, which is really really fun. But something real big budget. Lots of green screen, people bowing to me. I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for in real life, anyhow. But yes, certainly on screen would be fun.
So now, before we start wrapping
This
up,
is apple juice.
okay.
Woo.
Okay. Before we start wrapping up, and then we have some questions and comments for us to share.
Oh, I'm here all night, so let's go.
Okay.
I am here.
No,
I was late, and I'm going to be here. Oh, by the way, apologies to the audience. I was late because Dumbo alert. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. I only read the first part, and then I was like, oh, I guess my meeting will be at 8, and so I apologize to people that were waiting.
that's okay. That's
Feel
okay.
shame.
It was worth it. They're okay with it. They're
Get
here.
some work done. How are these jowls working out? It just makes me look younger.
No,
Wait, do I look younger here?
no, it does looks the same.
Dang it. Okay.
One
Well,
more thing to push back. You look fine.
Okay, I got to get that Frank and Maxine series going. Then I can really.
Oh dear goodness. Talk to us about the project is it United?
Reunited. Yes.
Yes.
So, written by my wife, the lovely and talented Laura Adkin. I am legally obligated to say that.
Okay.
She's super talented, and she had an idea in her head about telling a story about people in their 40s, because
Okay.
she kind of felt like those stories weren't really being told. It was all, it was the YA and young 20s and like early 30s, but nobody sort of in their late 40s. She wasn't sort of seeing those stories. And she's a really big fan of the 1980s movie, The Big Chill.
Oh yes. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Good.
And so this is kind of a modern day version of that. It's a bunch of friends that were in college together, and they one of their the main group, who lives on Bowen Island, which is an actual island just off the coast of Vancouver, which my mother-in-law lives on, and where we shot the film. She sends out a request for a reunion to 5 of her friends, and they all get together for this boozy, fun, crazy weekend. It starts off as fun, but as the weekend goes along, we realize that everyone's lives maybe aren't what they seem, and there's a lot of secrets that people are kind of holding on to. But it's funny, and it's emotional, and it's beautiful. I'm amazing in it. And I'm not just saying it because I put a lot of money into it as an executive producer.
Yeah.
The cast is fantastic. It's really good. And so we're just on the verge of finishing it. If anybody's related to anybody in the band Green Day, please reach out to me, because we want a song of theirs. And it's just, anyways, that's all I'm saying. It's just, if you know anybody in Green Day, reach out to me. I'll send you a headshot.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're just looking for a song of theirs, and it's got this great soundtrack, and it's just, I think it's a really wonderful movie, actually. Yeah, it's really, really lovely, and my wife does a fantastic job directing and writing it. Yeah, she's a great
That's
writer.
something to look forward to. Maybe when it comes out, we'll revisit.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll all reunite.
Yes.
Feels so good.
Yes, reunite. Okay, I love it. All right, so we've got some questions for you. I have a good one right here. This is Christina Lohman, and she says, "Who was your big?
Yes, it's natural. Oh, sorry, no, you're not asking about that. Okay, I'm listening.
Who was your big inspiration?"
Oh, that's a great question.
It
Oh,
is.
that's a great question. When I was young, my big inspiration was Michael J. Fox, because he came from Vancouver, and he was one of the first actors that I'd ever and he was sort of around my age, that came from Vancouver, went to LA, and hit it big. Back to the Future was a huge movie, and it was a huge movie for me. I love that movie. I can watch that movie all day long. So that was a really big influence for me. I really loved him a lot. I thought he was a fantastic actor. And then, as you get older, I love Brad Pitt. I've been watching him for years. I think he's a really solid actor. Robert Redford, kind of old school. Those types of old school actors. Al Pacino, all that sort of stuff that probably most actors say. But one of the first ones was definitely Michael J. Fox. Yeah.
Which is cool. I can see that. That's cute. I love him. I love him when he was on the TV series, and then of course, Back to the Future.
When he was on Family Ties, Alex P. Keaton, right? Yeah.
I have family that live in California, and they filmed certain scenes. They wet the street and stuff. It was like right around the corner from the shopping mall, was around the corner from my aunt and uncle.
Okay.
And they got to, it was at night, and brought the kids, and they stood off far, like you were allowed to come up to a certain space.
Oh, you mean for Back to the Future when they? Oh yeah, because remember everything was wet.
It has to be at night. They said they would do it that way to make it look or whatever. And we're
Well,
like,
it just because the light shines off of
yes,
the
back then,
yeah.
that's what they, yeah. So it was kind of cool. We learned a little ins and outs. And then when we actually got to see it on screen, it was like, wow, like as if we were there, you know.
Well, you kind of were though,
We
sort
were.
of. Yeah,
I know, which is
that's great.
funny. I know. That was a good question, Christina. We're
Good
just
question.
we have some people showing you some love here. Um, this is Gloria. She says she loves seeing you in the Hallmark. I think it's the mystery movies, like that channel. And she says, and he does the best deadpan look. like, like now. And Arlene says, she says The Edge of the Garden 2011 was
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah, that was a fun movie. Yeah, that was a really interesting kind of fantasy movie. That was great. I played it
Yeah.
back during that. Yeah.
And Deb is saying, I could listen. She could listen to David forever.
Well, we're going all night, Deb. So get your jammies on.
This one um, is it Sing, Signe? I don't want to say your name incorrectly. It's the teacher in me that cannot stand that. So I apologize if I'm saying it incorrectly. But I remember seeing you in an episode of Murder She Baked, and you did an excellent job. Yes, you've been in everything.
With the lovely Allison Sweeney. I worked with her a couple times. She's such a lovely person. She's
Yes.
really such a hard, you know why she's such a hard worker?
Why?
Guess why she's such a hard worker?
Why?
Because where does she come from?
The United States.
She comes from working on soap operas.
Oh,
Maybe,
yes. Oh, of course. Yes, I know
and
that.
you have to be, I mean, you're doing 20 pages a day.
Yeah.
There's no showing up and being like, what am I wearing today? Man, she was so prepared whenever I worked with her, and a really great leader. She's a really great, like, number one on the call sheet, which is really, I mean, most of the people I work with in Hallmark are pretty great. Holly Robinson, Pete, great. It makes a big difference. It really makes a big difference. But she was always very, very prepared and always loved to talk about like the script and what was working and what wasn't working. Yeah, it's really great.
Yes, and I love she has like a little deal now going on with Hallmark, and I'm like, yes, because I think she's super talented, and then all her gifts are going to be shown off. So I'm excited for her future. She's actually she just had one of her Christmas movies come out last weekend, and now she's already into filming something right now. So I'm like, oh, I wish when she's not busy, I'm going to have her back on. Robin is saying, great career and love your excitement and that you give back as well. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah. I
It
mean,
is.
I do have a couple of like no eye contact on set with the young people. That's, obviously I don't want them looking at me. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, thank you. I do. Yeah, I think it's really important. All you actors out there, you should definitely give back to the young filmmakers up and coming. You help them, work with them. I think it's really important.
It's true. Oh, Chip is knowing that she was in the soaps. He wrote that. He's like, I know what it was. She was in the soaps, but I didn't see what he was saying.
Right.
Jan says, was acting what you had always wanted to do? Did you know that you wanted? That's a good question, Jan.
That is a good question. A little too personal as far as I'm concerned, but I'm going to answer it anyhow this one time.
All right.
Yeah, I think it kind of was. I was really intrigued. I mean, I grew up in a household, like probably a lot of people did, where TV was, we all watched TV. I watched TV with my dad. We watched Mary Tyler Moore and Bob Newhart and MASH and then, Cheers and Seinfeld and all that sort of stuff. So TV was a very big influence on me. And I took drama in high school because I heard it was an easy grade, and there were girls.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that I had kind of an affinity for it. So I was like, oh, okay. And then when I was graduating from high school, the film industry was just starting to take off in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of perfect timing. And yeah, I didn't really have a path. I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I assumed obviously international supermodel, but I just wasn't good looking enough, apparently.
You could play a international supermodel.
Maybe a supermodel's assistant.
Yes, that becomes that evil lightning bolt.
There we go. Yes.
Character. You
this
could.
latte is too cold. And then they just
yes, you could do it. You could do it.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been lovely, David. You're gonna have to come back and talk
Thank
to us
you.
about your other projects.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Good.
Again, apologies for being late and not getting dressed up.
It's fine. No, we
Yeah.
like seeing people relaxed and not dressed up. You look fine. I like your hat and what your
Thank
hoodie or
you.
what
Thank you
so
very much.
we like that. You're yourself and you're more personable. And then again, like I was telling you before, we'll get to see your all your movies. We'll go back, we'll watch everything, your TV series, and we'll say, oh, okay, that's what he meant. Like it's like fun. It means
Yeah.
more to us. We like it.
Great. Well, that what a pleasure. Thank you very much for all the people that tuned in. Very nice of you on a Wednesday night to take time from your life there and listen to me talk.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. Before we go, this is your last hurrah right here. You're hysterical and you must come back soon, she says.
People, could you please let her finish for crying out loud? Let the woman finish talking about me.
All right. Good night, everyone. You could stay for a minute and I'll say good night
Good
in the
night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in.
nice.
Be safe
Yes.
out there.
Yes.